So good evening, everyone. I'm Julia Niiro. I'm a PI alum. I'm also a founder and someone who's deeply honored to be here tonight. Before we begin, I want to share a bit of my personal story because tonight we are kind of committing to showing up fully as ourselves. So I guess that also includes me. I am a half Japanese daughter of an immigrant father. And to be honest, much of my life, I really didn't know where I belonged. I only knew I lived between cultures, between definitions, between expectations. And it really took losing my dad about 2 years ago for me to create this space to really ask myself, who am I? And yes, how has my lineage, how have my ancestors really shaped me into the kind of builder and believer in possibilities that I am? And that question lives at the heart of tonight. Because so many of the stories you'll hear tonight live at intersections of culture, of identity, of memory, of tradition, and bold new beginnings. When I was first asked to moderate this event, only a few weeks ago, my first time, be kind, I was asked to find a thread between all of the speakers in the story, their stories, and I spent a lot of time just literally thinking about that. Not an easy question. But the truth is there isn't just one thread between all of these founders. It's a constellation. But there's this quiet question that many of us do carry, and that is, where do I belong in this AAPI identity? There are some common factors. Humility without apology, joy that pulses under pressure, a come hell or high water spirit, a commitment to beauty for beauty's sake, and a certain kind of swag. A way of moving through the world that is multi-layered, defiant, and present. Every founder that you will hear from tonight contains multitudes, and that in itself is the thread. They are reclaiming narratives, they are redefining systems, and they are bringing their entire selves, their food, their art, their grief, their joy, into the center of this community. I don't want to define anything tonight, because this is not about labels. Tonight is an invitation for you all and us to participate, not passively, but actively. We are living in a world where the old maps no longer serve us. There are no clear roads ahead, only intersections, collisions, and collaborations. And from that space and uncertainty, something new can emerge, a new way of seeing, listening, and belonging. So tonight I ask you to practice something rare, a moment to decenter ourselves so that we can fully listen and we can fully open. Because personal is political. And real change doesn't come from declarations. It comes from the quiet truths that we dare to speak and our ability to receive the stories from others that we hear. This is Where Are They Now? And it is not about resumes. These founders are already shaping industries, cultures, cities, and futures. They are not just navigating systems, they are reimagining them. From sambal to carbon fiber, from intersectionality to charcuterie. They are building what comes next with integrity, clarity, and love. So tonight, as you listen, don't just ask, what is the thread? Ask yourself, what is your part in weaving it? So let's find out together. Please welcome John Furukawa from Uncorked.
Hi, everybody. You having fun yet?
Love that jazzy top, John. Well, thanks for opening. And I thought it'd be great for you to open because we had quite a cool conversation when we talked on the phone prepping for this event. And we first talked about you sharing your experience as an AAPI founder. And I was just wondering if you'd take a moment to share what came up for you. What were some of the thoughts that we discussed?
Do I have to be honest?
Yes. Counting on him.
I mean, I think maybe I made up a term. Let's see, I don't know if it's a real one. How does Asian insufficiency sound to you? I was like, am I Asian enough to be on this panel?
You called it an Asian imposter.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that there's some reason for that, though. I mean, if we look at the diversity stories that we all enjoy together, they typically are about, overcoming a lot of challenges and suffering, and then expressing your culture as the end result. Like the ones we really celebrate, the stories that we are consuming and saying, this is what diversity is about. But I feel like I'm half white and I'm fourth generation Japanese. And for me, my Asianness isn't like so much the signal as it feels like the noise. And I don't think that's actually true, but I think that's how it's carried for me. So I panicked a little bit.
Can you talk about who your first phone call was?
Yeah, I called my dad. I was like, hey, Dad, how come we never talked about race? And what was it like? And we kind of marched through his whole timeline. I escorted him through his own life. I'm like, well, what about this? Well, what about that? And I remember in college, he was on the cover of Seattle magazine, the top docs. And I thought that was really cool. I was proud of it.
It is cool.
But when I was talking to him, he shared that, when he went to medical school, he was the first Asian to graduate in 4 years because everyone else was subjected to so much racism that they were dropping out or taking longer. And some of the faculty at the time was fired for their actions. And he went through that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But he also didn't really talk about being Asian as this experience. And as I think about it, and from reading, I mean, I think a lot of post-World War II Japanese focused on integration. And the real story that I think sticks with me the most is I was like, well, what about when you were a kid? So his grandfather was the immigrant. His father was born there. He was born there. He was born in 1944, so around World War II. He was raised integrating with white society.
Right.
His dad was successful. He was a baseball player, pitcher for the interleague Hawaiian island thing, and a successful insurance salesman and well-liked. And he spent time with white people, and so did my dad. And that's how he grew up, and it was very normal. So I think maybe I do have Asianness, but mine was inherited through a kind of a tradition of maybe trying to integrate more than trying to express.
Well, then you also revealed you are a black belt. So I don't know, we're pulling your Asian out of you. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, in college, the racism I experienced was you do the math question, because I must know how to do math better, not so terrible, or you must do martial arts, to which I was like, great, yeah, that's fine because it's true. Yeah, I do like martial arts.
Well, based on that, I wanted to, one of the questions I had once I found out that, after we'd had some moments of conversation where you weren't sure about that, and then I was like, you're a black belt? And I asked you to think a little bit about some of the principles, or I guess I made the assumption you're a deeply principled person then. So I asked you to try to boil them down into some concise points or principles or things, like a bit of a creed that you live by, that are either tied to martial arts or a bit more, your ancestors without knowing it.
Yeah, I mean, lately, I used to, so Uncorked Studios was in the first class of Pi and turned into a service business more than the typical startup. But we're considered an exit because we eventually sold in 2019. So from the beginning, 2011 through 2019, I was the inside guy more than the outside guy. And then after that, after we sold, then I was out here in the communities. And I got fired 2 years ago. Not fired, let go. 2 years ago. And that's where I really think the principles have been coming together because at that time, I traded with my former employer, the right to use the office space for events.
Wow.
And then I would watch over the space for them, which they needed.
It was a beautiful space.
Yeah, beautiful space, yeah. And what that meant was suddenly when there was an event in that space, I wasn't doing it for the possibility of a potential sale. I was doing it because of whatever that community needed. So Oregon Entrepreneurs Network or Portland Design Thinkers or many others. And when you begin to do things because you're sacrificing, you really see it for being purely good and for raising other things. And I like that purity, and I think that connects somehow to the martial arts principles that are more solid.
Can you said something there, when you're doing something for pure sacrifice.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm not getting anything from it, right? I'm literally working for free and allowing someone to use the space for their message. So I love that.
Business?
Bad business, but I actually think that's the better currency.
Yeah.
Or maybe not a currency, but something that's better than currency. If we measure everything by dollars, then we're only going to be transactional, and there's a limit to that. I think you just brought that up recently. But when you are looking for what other people are sacrificing, if they're giving up comfort or safety or clarity or their resources or their time, then they're really giving something up. And that's I find that to be the new thing to respect. And I think most of the leaders that we see in our community, not only are they respected for achieving results, but they're actually giving a lot more than the average bear with their life. They're giving stuff up. You're giving something up. Do you think that she gets a huge bucket of manu and cookies for all the prep that she's done for this? Not at all. This is a leader right here.
Well, I could talk to you forever. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling we've met all those items, and he gave me the signal. So thank you so much for your vulnerability and honesty tonight.
Absolutely.
Please welcome Zhao. Also responsible for the most beautiful charcuterie I've ever seen. Rice paste. Very special charcuterie. Yeah, please have other charcuterie. Hi.
Hello.
And thank you for the treats.
Of course.
All right. Well, we also spoke before, which was very fun, learning more about your story. But I was kind of starting to start back at the roots for you. So you shared that your family immigrated from Thailand and Laos as part of a small group of refugees. Can you share just a piece of that journey, if you're willing, and how those roots kind of continue to shape the way that you move through the world today as a founder?
Sure. So both of my parents immigrated here as refugees from Laos. They were born in Laos, and then they went to refugee camps in Thailand, and they immigrated here in the 80s. And then for some reason, my dad had some entrepreneurial bone in his body. I tried calling him yesterday to get the story.
Everyone's calling their dad.
Because in my whole life, he's not that talkative. Some of you might understand Asian dads. I don't know.
Another theme.
What?
Another theme.
Yeah. I don't know the story of why he decided on entrepreneurship, but in my childhood, he was a realtor. He owned a livestock farm. Then they owned a gas station. And so I was just around it my whole life. And so I saw the struggle. I saw the hustle. And then on the other side, so I feel like what I like to say is my dad taught me how to dream because he had all these visions. And then my mom worked 2 jobs when I was in high school. And so I saw hustle. She was just like, I got to make ends meet. So yeah, that's kind of how that's shaped me, just observing. They never were like, you should be an entrepreneur. Never. They're like, you should be a doctor. You should be a lawyer. You should become something where you can earn money. So yeah, I never was encouraged to go this route, but when you're just around it, you can't help it.
A true testament to you, though, also, I think a lot of people who grow up seeing their families struggle so much usually do become doctors or lawyers. So pretty amazing that you held on to that ability to dream. Very inspiring. So you launched Charcuterie Me in 2020 after working at Prosper Portland. What did it feel like, kind of build that your kind of story, the inception story is amazing. But yeah, maybe walk through the uncertainty of that time. What a massive pivot for you, and you're here now, which is an incredible feat to have gone through. So
thank you. Yeah, so I worked at Prosper Portland, so that was my first job at the city of Portland, working in economic development, and there's where I saw the landscape of small business in Portland and how much support there was. So I've always been very creative, but I never got to use that outlet or have that outlet. I was in data research and evaluation, and then I was in data at Prosper, but I was exposed to the small business world. And then actually my boss at the time had his own side hustle. He had his own barbecue sauce company. So my manager at the city had his own company, and he was also a manager. So I was like, wow, I could do that too. So fast forward to 2020, I had worked on the idea for Charcuterie Me for a year in a business boot camp. I went to Oregon, and then the pandemic hit. Actually, another coworker of mine sent me a DM and it was like, look, this company they make bread, but they're selling charcuterie. And that pissed me off. So I was like, this is my idea. So that kind of helped me and pushed me just launch on Instagram. That's where it all started. And then 5 years in April, I celebrated. So
It's huge. It's huge.
yeah.
When I was kind of doing research and reading on what you talked about, and also when talking to you, I wanted your perspective a bit because you're a founder who started in Chinatown, neighborhood that's very unique, and awesome. It's all the things. But what's your vision for Portland's future?
Yeah. So.
Oh my God. That's important.
It was very random that I launched Charcuterie Me in Chinatown, actually in Spice Gentlemen's Club at the strip club kitchen, because that was my best connection to a commercial kitchen at the time. So I spent every morning there 5-6 days a week, and I feel like Chinatown is such a colorful place and I miss it. I would go to Dead Stock Coffee in the mornings. And yeah, I'm so glad I got to spend time there, because growing up in Portland, it's never been a real destination, which is very sad. But I'm hopeful that we can get there. I don't know how many years it'll take, but I actually visited San Francisco in February, and my friend took me to their Chinatown. You wouldn't believe, if you've never been, it was life-changing. And I wish ours could be like that too.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for everything on Texas.
Please welcome Kimiko Matsuda from Multnomah Whiskey Library and the Idea Factory.
Selfish personal note right now. I hope this doesn't cut too much in your time, but I wanted to thank you. You were one of the first vendors with Milk Run. When you showed up, you were fancy, you were clean. I've been used to working with so many farmers. You looked great. You had a nice car. Showed up, in my distribution warehouse over there, and I was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, thanks for seeing how the sausage was made. I appreciate you staying with us through that.
Well, I have to say thank you, because in a time where trying to get my product out into the world beyond just a storefront on 34th and Hawthorne, Milk Run aligned with kind of my vision for how people would discover my brand and my product. So I was all about how the sausage was made. I was like, let me in.
Yep.
Let me be a part of this.
It was you just saying that sentence alone was crazy because the brand and everything you built and your backstory. But I'll dive in a little bit. But I'm going to take you back to that first question a little, which is, as an AANHPI founder and community builder, how do you think your cultural identity has shaped the way that you kind of create and build beautiful stories and community?
What's interesting is that I really identify with what John said. I am half Japanese American, third generation, and half African American, but I didn't know my natural father, my African American side. And my Japanese American side was really focused on assimilating.
Yeah.
My mom remarried and we moved to New York, and my stepfather's family was German Jewish, and we lived in Westchester County, New York. So who remembers Facts of Life? Who remembers Tootie? I was so quintessentially Tootie. And in a lot of ways, I never really thought about how seeing Tootie on Facts of Life was something that allowed me to be me. Because Tootie definitely came from, she looked like me, but culturally she didn't have the same thoughts and ideas. And, my Japanese American heritage was so much closer to me than my African American heritage. So I was as amused by Tootie as the rest of us. But it was always interesting to try to figure out am I Japanese American enough?
Right.
Am I white enough? I'm not white at all, but my name was Kim Newman through my entire childhood, so much so that my mom still calls me Kim. So they're difficult. In this day and age, I'm over 50, so I don't know that I ever really expected that there would be an era where we could openly talk about our feelings and how we navigate through spaces with our cultural identity. And when I opened my juice bar, I had a juice bar on 34th and Hawthorne. I opened in September of 2019. So the majority of my customers came through to visit me during the pandemic. But after the murder of George Floyd and Stop Asian Hate and the Me Too movement, the good news from a business perspective is that I fit every affinity month. The uncomfortable news was that I had no idea what Juneteenth was. I didn't staff for it. I didn't understand it. And yet I had a line around the block with people who wanted to celebrate that on my behalf. And I called my friend Ian Williams and I was like, what do I do? What's happening right now? And I think that was the catalyst. I went home and I told my family that I've got some work to do.
I have lots of questions, but would you want to talk about your new project? Still, I've got this thing happening here, and then again. So you have a new project, the Idea Factory. So creative studio, right, rooted here in Portland, where you say cities, like ideas, are meant to be experienced up close. I wouldn't side, but I feel like you also talking about the belonging, and now you're designing spaces for people to be. Anyway, I love it. I was just wondering, can you tell us a little bit more about the inspiration for that?
I feel like the Idea Factory as a name is catchy, but the more often I say it, the more I identify as a human Idea Factory. There is never an idea that I can keep myself from getting involved in. If it's a good idea or a sticky idea, if it's an idea that's similar to somebody else's idea, I'm constantly in my mind trying to create all these connections. Portland is filled with creative ideas, whether it is from food and beverage or whether it's from tech, whether it's from urban planning, whether it's environmental. And we're all so connected here in Portland. And every idea that's sitting on these bleachers right here, I feel like in my pocket, I have your match made in heaven. And so bringing people together in conversation with an opportunity to create belonging and have the conversation be more about the idea and less about who's bringing the idea or who the idea is intended for. I feel like if you're a good person and you have a good idea, we probably have a place for you.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. I have so many questions, but we'll chat after. We'll be at it. Thank you so much.
Please welcome Tom Sollitt from Asian American Town, which puts on Legendary Makers Market, and I Hope You Get Rich.
Nice. You're the smart entrepreneur who's marketing. Hi. Okay, so I know before we get chatting, do you have some upcoming things that we want to make sure we get to as far as announcements? So let's start with those so we don't get lost.
All right. I know. That's right. Okay, so we are producing a Korean American block party over at 2nd and Salmon this Saturday from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. We also have the finale for a new pitch series called I Hope You Get Rich, hosted at Latino Founders on May 30th from 7 to 10 p.m. Yeah.
Nice. Everyone getting hurt. Cool.
Appreciate it.
Was this sort of, are you hoping to go a layer deeper because your work reflects so much of your story, but as a transracial and transnational adoptee, how do you hold the complexity of origin and belonging? And what has this journey taught you about identity and how is it showing up in your work? Like I said, I know it's quite obvious, but maybe we can go a little level deeper. Maybe something people don't know.
All right, well, that is a good question.
No big deal. Pretty light.
Yeah, just a light one. But I think when it comes to being a transracial, transnational adoptee, I think a majority of us kind of opt out of spaces that are Asian or Asian-centered. But I think it's really important for us to participate and understand that no matter what, we are a part of this community. And I think that it allows people to get a chance to know us beyond our circumstance if we put ourselves out there.
Well, I guess with Asian America Town, started as a community project. Now it's growing into something much bigger. It's a living network of all these change makers. Then maybe this was it. But a little bit of the spark behind that, it's just so inspiring. Like, you talk very simply, like it's no big deal to just bring people together who such an intentional community builder. But yeah, maybe just a little bit of a spark of what started that and what's kept it growing, if you will.
I think what's kept it growing, I think that can kind of tie back into my own personal origin. I think the reason why I am here as a transracial, transnational adoptee is that a community was subverted by capitalism and learned to rely on a system that wasn't meant to benefit them. And I'm trying to do the opposite with Asian American Town.
Yes. So then also this transitions us, I think, well into the pitch series that you have, I Hope You Get Rich, which makes a bold and beautiful statement. But yeah, I guess talking a little bit about that. What does that name mean to you? A little bit of opportunity to expand on that.
I mean, it's just a play on this Ronnie Chang skit where he talks about Chinese New Year, and that's kind of how people greet each other. But if you...
Can you, I don't say more about that.
So he was talking about the way people celebrate Lunar New Year, and they get together like, oh, I hope you get rich, is the saying. He was just kind of joking about, why is this how we greet each other? But he went further with it about saying, I hope you get rich, but I hope you also hope I get rich. And just kind of talking about community abundance in that way, where we can create wealth for everyone. So
that's beautiful. I have something. Okay, we're just scratching the surface. But what is one thing that this community, your people here, I think can do? You've been in it for so long, and I'm guessing thinking about these things for so long. I guess I think you're the right person to make an ask from this community tonight.
An ask from this community.
Yeah, for the people here, right? Yeah. What can people do? I guess to help this grow, or yeah.
I would say take a look at the projects that are happening around you and invest in them before they've already kind of gotten to a point where they don't necessarily need the same level of support. I think we're very quick to celebrate a founder or a startup locally that has made it to a certain tier, but when people really, really need that kind of peer network support, you usually can find that kind of lacking.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please welcome Holly Ong from Sibeiho.
Hi. Thank you again for that gift set. Cannot wait. Well, before we get started, also, you have an announcement.
Yeah, we are in the voting cycle for Good Food. Good Food Foundation turns 15. We have two awards up for best of. So if you go on to Google Good Food Foundation, and then you have to scroll through a tedious interface. That's Ricky has to cut that part because there's 18 categories. We're right at the back. You have to look for snacks and pantry. We are in there. So look for us and vote for us. Thank you.
Click 1810s. So I was reading your story and I'm kind of in awe of you that you were just like, oh yeah, great, I'm going to make my own and the best sambal. Like, that's just what I need to do because it's just not here, and I'm just going to do that. I mean, it's quite a thing to just do, and you've done it. But I guess, yeah, what does it mean to preserve and evolve your cultural heritage through something so personal?
Yeah, I mean, we make Singaporean sambals, and if you have ever looked on the map and look at Singapore, the font is usually bigger than the country. Most people don't know where we are at. And when I first moved here in the US in 2008, I was working on Nike then, and then it's like I gave up trying to explain where I was from, even though it's quite a cosmopolitan or global campus. But because I was stuck with the Koreans with my team, they just assumed automatically I was Korean. And I gave up trying to explain why I am ethnically Chinese. I'm not from China. I'm third generation. But my favorite breakfast is Indian, right? So it was just too hard to do all that. And then I left the US, Poland actually, and then I came back again in 2018. And I had been in Shanghai before that. And my friend who started the business with me, we are diehard Singaporeans because we grew up, we miss our food so much. So we cook a lot. Everywhere we go, we cook, we throw dinner parties, right? And one of the great things about cooking our food, that's the easiest and fastest way for us to communicate about who we are because of the strange multicultural, everything that melting pot that we are at. And we did a whole set of series of supper clubs to test, to see, I'm from a buying background, I'm kind of numbers driven. I was like, hey, would people actually want to eat this? So fast forward, we found somebody, we cold pack, right? We make with somebody, but I taste every single batch of sambal that goes out because to be honest, everybody knows what strawberry jam tastes like, but the sambal, it's hard to teach the taste buds for something that you grow up eating. And the onions actually and chilies, it's like making wine. They taste different after every harvest. And a lot of it is grown here. So we taste every single batch before it gets jarred. So from a taste profile, they're always consistent. But our biggest validation came from, we thought, we'll give it a go, make the sambal. And then COVID hit. And then we were like, what do we do, right? From a space, nobody will make a product. So we found a shop in Northwest 23rd. We said, we'll make our own product. And then we decided, we were very lucky. There was a buying group. Everybody was stuck at home, remember those days? So the buyers were all sitting in front of Zoom. Build, Accelerate Women had all set our products. Somebody did something miraculous. And then we remember pitching and Bill, I remember John from Marketer Choice and Laurie from New Season said, we'll take it. I was like, we can do this, right? So that was a great validation point. And the other validation point was Joyce Atta from World Market said, this is a Good Food Foundation, go and apply for this. And we're like, what's that? So we sent it in and then we had 3 or 4 slots to think. We only had 3 products. Then it was like, the fourth one, we'll just put the other thing inside. And we did not expect to win 2 in our very first year of doing that. And in winning that, I got a chance to go meet Alice Waters.
Oh, what?
Yes, I met her. I have a picture of it.
And you've since won 3 awards in total, correct?
Yeah, we did. We had another one, Pickle, which, sometimes I would put things in and then some of it I didn't plan on commercializing. So it takes me a while to get there to make the product.
I guess you really can. No, not at all. I guess you really can just decide to make something awesome and better and make it work. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us. Yeah.
Please welcome Zhou Fang from Intersectional Group.
Hi. I feel like you could be moderating this. Lots to learn for you. So you founded the Intersectional Group to bring a deeply human, emotionally centered lens to equity work. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that? And what led to this decision? And what's the moment you knew it had to exist?
Back in 2019, around that time, I started to learn about
what is intersectionality. And I know a lot of folks in the room, you probably all learned about it way before me. But as an immigrant from China, I was unfamiliar with the framework intersectionality. But when I came across it, when I learned about the stories behind it, the inequity or the intersections between race, gender, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, I realized a lot of the issues and the isms we face today can be explained by the framework of intersectionality. And at the time, I was still on a work visa, like a H-1B. But I told myself, when I got my green card, I'm going to start my own business. So fast forward, 2020 was a hard year, but I think one of the speakers mentioned Black Lives Matter and then Stop Asian Hate. And that was also during the time when I really realized intersectionality is a big deal in our society. And we can experience disparities and adversities and privileges at the same time because they're all interconnected. It's all intersectional. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I wish I had a business, but I don't. So I started to volunteer and practice intersectionality pro bono. It's a fancier word for volunteer. So when I got my green card in 2022, I was like, oh, this is it. If not now, when? So I decided, it's time to practice intersectionality at full capacity.
Yes, I was experienced. Great. I guess I was just wondering from the room, because I think, you're the right person to maybe give us an overview of the framework. I think that maybe would help. But you did say, do you feel as though a lot of people in the room, do you guys feel like that would be helpful? Yes. Yeah. Are you comfortable with that?
Sure. So I can give a kind of example right here in this room. So I've been taking notes from previous speakers tonight. So from Julia to Zhou, Nate, Kimiko, Tom, Holly, and then myself. And we have 5 more coming up. So a lot of the stories I've heard so far, one of the intersections is from immigrant families. Right. So that's part of intersectionality is everyone in this room, we all look different. We all have a story, and the story may be or sound different from the surface. At the same time, there's a lot of similarity. So intersectionality really explores the differences in our lives, and at the same time, we're all very similar as human beings. So that's the essence of the framework, is for us to explore the differences and the similarities. And how can we utilize those? How can we connect those dots with the framework and then help us basically move our people and culture, community, and leadership forward. And hopefully, eventually, we can all smash those systemic, isms and problems and issues. We can work on the issues from the roots. So I don't know if that makes sense.
That was fantastic. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, you're not. You still got some time, too. That was just a mid-applause. So as someone working at the intersection of policy, community, storytelling, from the Women's Foundation to the Jade District, what do you think, I guess, that most people misunderstand, or what are the current challenges, I know we don't have a ton of time, but that you're facing in equity work today, right now?
In equity work, I feel there is a sense of scarcity. When we talk about policy work, we mention different organizations, and every organization is, I need resource. And as a result, we tend to compete for resources. And when we get the resource, we try to protect it so that whoever is an outsider won't get access to it. So I think in equity work, there is kind of across the board issue is the scarcity mindset. I'm seeing that in different communities, right? Like immigrant communities, Asian American communities, Black American communities, all communities. And I think rightfully so, because the system programmed us to be scared, to be fearful. When we only have one plate, we think about we need to protect our plate. And what we don't see is there are so many plates available for people if we are willing to explore and share and open up doors and share resources, etc. So in the line of equity work, I really hope folks can start experiencing or practicing more of the abundance mindset, which again goes back to the isms, right? Like the system that conditioned us to be scarcity mindset. And so if we can overcome that scarcity mindset, that means we are fighting the system and we're changing the stereotypes. We're changing whatever it is that the system wanted us to believe. And we can really start practicing the abundance mindset. And different communities like today, we can all come together and share space and share stories. And I think that's powerful.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Whew, I'm going to take a moment. This is amazing. What an incredible group of people. He's very cool. Yeah. You guys having fun? It's pretty cool.
Okay, please welcome Quang Cheung from UrbanForm.
Hi.
There was a lot to read about you and the things. I guess we're going to start a little bit way back for you, but you came to Portland as a Vietnamese refugee and went on to work alongside some of the most visionary architects in the world. How has that journey across cultures, disciplines, geographies really shaped the way you see space, form, and possibility?
I didn't think you were going to ask a question like that. It's hard because I think growing up in the 80s as a Vietnamese refugee, I don't know how many of you guys relate, but I was basically trying to fight my own ethnicity and identity the whole time. And I realized I kind of spent most of my young life and adult life trying to distance myself from ethnicity and that part of my life. I think my family also, that was the mindset growing up, was very much like we try and minimize how ethnic we are. I grew up in Beaverton, which was, there wasn't that many other Asian families at that time in the 80s. So I have a hard time kind of, thinking about it because it's just, I just tried to survive,
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I look at, growing up. Just tried to survive. I think, my parents were being refugees, you don't take survival for granted. You just kind of, do your best to get through it. So, in short, that's what I would say, which is not a really sophisticated answer. Sorry.
No, it's amazing. I honestly, I feel so honored to be able to mirror some things back from all of your stories, as there's so many, or that is a theme for so many of us. I think when I'm here, I did not know if that was going to be kind of what you said, but as you did, and I'm now thinking like you work with composite materials, which feels like both a technical breakthrough and a philosophical one. I think one thing that's very clear is you imagine a future where there are no longer limits for the standard ways of doing things, right? It's like you're merging two things, right, into one. You see a very open future. So I guess the question here is, what draws you to these materials, and what kind of future do you think, I guess, in the composite materials work that you're doing now, or just in general, what kind of world do you see is possible?
Yeah, so the backstory about that is that, so I wrote a book about advanced materials in architecture. So I'm trained as an architect. I went through school to become trained as an architect. I ended up working with some buildings that were built with unconventional materials like carbon fiber. And then I decided to write a book about it because there exists no other books about carbon fiber materials in architecture. So I published that book. And then
Right? Just got to do it.
Just had to do it. And then during that process, I actually kind of came to what I do now, which is actually, I'm the founder of a company called UrbanForm, which uses AI and GIS technologies to automate the process of acquiring zoning information. And the way I got to that was actually through the research with advanced materials, because I was, an architect. I was working with all these different materials and buildings, and I was kind of figuring out, like, why don't we do more of this? If you look around, we've been building buildings the same way for, 100 plus years. And I couldn't figure out why, we weren't, innovating in the built environment the way that we were, say, with aerospace or automotive. So, I wrote that book about carbon fiber because at that time I was working with these firms that were doing some really innovative buildings. And during that process, I learned about all the constraints that the regulatory environment has on our built environment. So that book kind of led to my current role as the founder of this company that, provides data about the regulatory environment around buildings. So that's kind of like, a long way.
You're a tech founder now, technically. Rick, is he a tech founder?
I am a tech founder now.
Yeah, let's put that hat on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the way I got connected here is through Pi, and Rick and Cami. I went through Pi, and that's how but yeah, it's about, the regulatory environment, using technology to start to break down the barriers around the regulatory environment that controls the spaces that we live in and work in and, that form our communities.
What excites you, I guess, about the future? I'm going to ask you this, I guess, in a different way now, because I want to get, like, in your brain. I'm like, what do you see? There's a guy, what's exciting you right now?
So somebody had asked me a version of that question once, and I think the thing that excites me is an increasing diversity of the way that we express our communities. And I think the way that, we see the built environment kind of developing now, it's kind of always been like, oh, it's constrained by this, or this is that typology because of these regulations. But what I'd really love to see is a kind of an increasing diversity of the way that we express built environment, buildings, spaces. And that, to me, is made possible through an understanding of technology, the regulatory environment, different systems that shape our environment. So to me, that's what's exciting. There's kind of this increasing possibility and diversity in the built environment in the future.
Well, that's amazing. Yes, I guess we could go on, but we are out of time. But thank you so very much.
Thank you, guys.
I feel like limitless is a thread of the time.
Having to end amazing conversations too quickly is the thread.
Yes, that's what's happening for me. But
please welcome Lisa Tran from Tantan.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to bring Holly's sauce so that everybody could see it. So this is Holly's sambals. These are her beautiful sauces, but these are also my sauces here.
what's yours here?
Too. But me and Holly are saucy sisters. Thank you for having me. I'm kind of nervous.
It's okay. I think we're all nervous together, at least. And these are amazing. Well, I guess we'll take you back at your roots too. So you grew up in your family's restaurant, right? A space that was built by your parents after they left Vietnam. What did it mean for you to take their recipes, their legacy, and say kind of a similar thing? Like, oh, great, I'm gonna bottle this and give it to the world and make it awesome.
It came out of necessity because it was during the time when we had 3 restaurants at a time. And then I became pregnant with a twin. And so we couldn't run a 3 restaurant. And
I'm going to cut you off real quick. You said you were running 3 restaurants. You became pregnant with twins. And then okay.
And so it was like, we thought maybe just a one baby is okay. But then with the 2 baby and 3 restaurant is not okay. So we think, okay, so we sell 2, but then I can't sit still. So our customers said, they always tell us to put in a bottle so they can share with their family and friend, because they used to put in a deli jar or a mason jar and then put in their backpack to travel. But then it doesn't always make it to their friend on time. So they tell us, they always tell us a bottle. And so, but at the time, I was not thinking about making the sauce. I was thinking about doing an app, because at the time, app as a tech, like all of my friend here, the app is so cool. I was thinking maybe do an app. And so when I go to the SBA office, talk about like do business plan or whatnot. I never know business plan either, because I'm just a restaurant kid. I see a flyer for, do you have a recipe? You want a bottle? You want to put it in your grocery store? I said, I do. And so I signed up for a class. It said, take your recipe to the market. And so I get into the class, and then they teach me to do this one. And at the end is the final of the class. I get to meet with a buyer at a new season. And at the time, they have an 18 store. So the final, I meet with them, and we don't have anything yet. And with a sample, I don't even sample like a spoon, because that's not how you eat the sauce. The sauce, we cook with the sauce. So the day before, me and my mom, we use the sauce. We make like a fried rice. We fry a chicken wing, and we toss with the peanut sauce. We do a short rib, and we braise with the hoisin sauce. And so we let them try. And at the time, it's not even in a bottle. I just cut out with a double side tape with the label, and the buyer said, so good. And as in the classes in June, and they said, when can you have it ready for us in a store in 2 months? I said, okay. And then it's like, okay. And then I said, I always say yes, because why not? And there's yes, but then it didn't take until maybe almost a year later. But at that time, they so patient with me. And so we were first store that a new season, small business that take all the new season. So ever since then, the new season, they take a chance on us. And then new season tell a lot of their other store friend, this is good, and it sells. So it's it just friend tell friend, much like a Tan Tan, our restaurant. We never advertised our restaurant before. So it's just a family and friend they tell. And so that's how it happened.
It is happening.
Yeah, happening.
What's the hardest part then? I guess, yeah.
Because balance is find a balance, because like I said, I say yes to everything. But the best part is I make so many friends, like Rick and Holly and Kimiko come to the restaurant all the time. And Tom is such a good friend to me. So we make so many good friends. It's the best part is hard, but the best part is a community. And I always like to, because in the Vietnamese, we have a saying where it's when the tide is gets so high, but all the boat is rise, no matter how small or big or heavy or whatever. When the tide get high, all the boat rise. So we rise together as a community, and the community really come together. We work together, and if I don't know something, somebody in the community will come and help me. And I find that it's maybe I don't know very much, but I know a little bit. And if I don't know something, I know somebody who knows something, and so they can help, and I can help too. So it's all community. Yeah.
You can just drop that mic. We'll rotate which one's in front.
Please welcome Tomita from Grovemade.
Hi. Did you catch the reference I made to Come Hell or High Water?
No.
Really? Oh, all right. That came directly from your website or our place. I was like, I like that. Although I don't think you made it up. I think we. Well, so you've spoken a bit about being raised Japanese in America. I think I was reading you also faced that kind of interesting response to the question at one point. But that work ethic, the attention to excellence, the cultural contrast, how has that dual identity shaped the way you build and lead at Grovemade?
Well, there's some literal examples.
Great.
Where our company is strangely Japanese. So, have you ever heard of Radio Taiso? It's called radio exercise. If you YouTube it, it's a lot of factory workers and stuff do it, but it's a stretch routine that people do, but it's all coordinated. And Japanese kids, we have to learn it in school. So for a while, maybe 5 years ago, I implemented it at our company. And so we put it on the screen and we'd all do it. But the Americans, they don't do it the way you're supposed to, right? Like some people are going this way, some people are going this way, you know. And then eventually it just turned into, nobody wanted to watch the video anymore. It turned into just random, everybody's doing their own stretches.
Now it's just stretching together.
Yeah. And the other one,
great,
also YouTubeable, is in Japan in elementary schools, the kids clean the schools. There's no janitors. So there's a certain time of the week, I think, and every kid has some specific role, and you clean the bathrooms, you clean the kitchen, you mop the floors, you do all that. So at our company, once a week, we all get together and we clean. We don't have a cleaning company. And everybody rotates. So at least during that time, everybody's completely equal. So I got to wash the toilets. The CEO has to wash the toilets sometimes.
That's important.
Yeah. It's actually cleaner, too.
Yeah.
Than when we hire people. Part of it was just watching these cleaners, and they're kind of like...
You're like, I need that to look better.
The intensity is not there.
Well, so your path from artist to iPhone case maker to design-led furniture creator is anything but traditional. But what have been the through lines in that journey? Maybe intensity or the values or instincts that lead your way through those things?
Sure. I was thinking about this the other day that what we do, a lot of it is just, we just go a little bit further than other brands or companies. And I was thinking about why, and I realized, at least for me personally, it's not like something I try to do. It's just naturally, I go a little bit further than you should. So then I was thinking about why, and then I realized
Good questions.
The answer is, it was pretty obvious. It's my mom. We're very close. I live right next to her. Does anybody live right next to their mom?
Oh, you've got a friend.
That's awesome, right? Yeah. So she is much more Japanese than I am. I was 1 when we came over, so I'm very Americanized. But I realized my whole life she's been doing these small things, and it's been constantly around me that it just became normal, like this attention to detail. So for example, food, instead of just a casual snack or something, it's always got to be on like a Muji serving platter, and then it's amazing presentation.
Sure.
So that includes even if I'm outside doing construction or something. So bring out the tea and the everything, and I always take pictures because the juxtaposition of this immaculately presented serving tray with hand forged ferns that she got that morning, and it's on my workbench that's got glue and nails and hammers and I've got tons of photos of that. Yeah.
That is incredibly inspirational. No wonder you became a designer. Well, you've recently moved Grovemade into a new home.
Yeah. It's right out the street. In 2018, we moved from the Central East Side to Albino and Rosa Parks. So it's up by Peninsula Park. If you go to the Mini Mart, our building is right behind it.
But I like how you also treat it as like a school. You keep reference modeled after your schools in Japan. But what does it mean? Yeah, I guess to have a place of your own now. And what are you hoping that really helps for your new chapter? What makes it possible?
Right. The building has been a blessing. You know, we got kind of pushed out of the rents increasing in the Central East Side, but it gave us the courage to. The rent went up so much it was the same as buying, so it's pretty scary. But we found a building up there.
Oh, you bought?
Yeah.
Nice.
And I got pretty lucky. You know, I had this bizarre criteria. I wanted a place where we could do our industrial work legally.
And stretching.
Yeah, the zoning, you know. And I also wanted it so our employees and me, we weren't stuck in like an industrial park by the airport or something. You know,
Right.
I wanted to be by a park in a residential area. And the first building I looked at, that was the one. It's right across the street from the park.
Oh.
Yeah.
You fished what you wished.
Yeah, it's great for meetings. So if you ever have like an intense meeting you have to do with somebody, pro tip, go for a walk.
Nice.
And hopefully there's a park right next to you. So if you walk,
One your place.
So one lap is 15 minutes exactly. So we call it, want to do a lap, and then if it gets uncomfortable, it ends in 15 minutes.
Strategic. Well, you've said before that you're determined to prove that a company can pursue beauty and integrity without compromising financial sustainability. What does it take to hold that line? And what does success look like when you're doing it your way?
Well, yeah, the definition of success changes over time. And right now, the definition is pretty conservative. I consider existing successful. You know, earlier, the charcuterie company has been around for 5 years. Very impressive. You know, we've almost gone out of business multiple times. And just the fact that we're still around is something we're proud of.
Amen.
Yeah. 15 years. So.
That's amazing. So staying alive.
Yeah. Because you're going to make mistakes. That's just how it is.
Well, I think that come hell or high water, you pull that off with certainly some swag. So thank you so much for the work you do.
Thank you.
Please welcome Pat Cheung from the Metro Region Innovation Hub.
How's it going?
Good. Tired.
That's okay. I was like, are we almost? Oh, wow. Let's savor the time. There's only 2 more stories left. Well,
actually, before I say anything, I feel like tired is a bad way to start. So thanks everyone for coming here.
that's true. Yeah. So you're exhausted. No, this has been great. Well, I enjoyed speaking to you earlier also in preparation. Very cool. So, and then I learned that you came to the U.S. from Hong Kong, right, at the age of 5. And when we were talking, you described carrying a certain work ethic or maybe even, something that drove you. So I won't give it away. But so how has your identity as an AAPI founder shaped the way that you build, lead, and push through?
Sure. So I was born in Hong Kong, came from a pretty big family, 5 kids, 2 parents, and I was the youngest of 5. And we were pretty, I'd say, lower middle class. We came from a blue collar family. My dad was basically a house painter all his life, not educated. And came to Hong Kong when I was 5. And I guess the one thing, he taught me quite a bit, actually both him and my mom, is just hard work. So hard work was always ingrained in us. In summers when everyone else went to summer camps and all that kind of stuff, we went to work. So probably worked when I was, I don't know, illegal. Not old enough to work, and worked at people's houses, painting, picking up stuff. And I think the word you're thinking of is, I don't know if this leads into it, but I don't know. I think just kind of growing up like that, just kind of maybe like the the gift that that gave was just really kind of, I guess, like a sense of non-entitlement. Just never felt too entitled. Always kind of felt like maybe the outsider in the room. And I think what that kind of did to me was, I think it kind of gave me a chip on my shoulder. So, just always kind of, when you have a chip on your shoulder, you just kind of work harder. You hustle a little bit more, and you just kind of do things with a little bit more grit.
Certainly. Also kind of, I guess, which begs the question for you, because you were an exited founder, right? Your company exited about 5 years ago.
Yeah. So my previous company is called Silver Sheet. We were a company in LA. I was a co-founder. It was a venture-backed company. We went through some, pretty prominent accelerators and got some money from pretty prominent VCs in LA. And then I moved up here about 8 years ago. The company exited. I'm really bad with dates. I don't know, 6 years ago, something like that. And kind of funny story there too, just about ethnicity and all that is, we went to a lot of these sort of prominent type of events, like startup events in LA. And my co-founder, he is a white guy. Nothing against him, a good friend. And but every time we go in a room, it would be like, like without any kind of context or anything, people would be like, he's the founder and I'm the software developer, which not the case. I don't know anything about coding.
Wait, what?
Yeah, surprise. Oh my God. But, stuff like that just kind of always kind of kept that chip on the shoulder. It's like, like the first 5 times, that's kind of funny. But, it comes 10 or 20 times. It's like, hey, I'm actually like the product manager, the product designer. And yeah.
Wow. Well, I guess then you take this transition right after, so you've exited, which may be amazing. Then you go into community. You haven't stopped. So, right? I think we're seeing your hard work and pushing through. And now you're a huge advocate for bootstrapping, and specifically bootstrapping here in Portland, which coming from a VC background, I don't know. Yeah. Can you share a little bit about that perspective?
Yeah, sure. So when I moved here about 8 years ago, I just kind of really made it a commitment to kind of give back to the community. There was a lot of resources I saw that, VC-backed companies have. They just have, all these types of resources at their disposal at their fingertips. And I kind of just, I think from my background, just kind of always kind of rooting for the underdog. I kind of, in the startup world, like the bootstrappers are kind of the underdog. Sort of like the overlooked, type of people. And I kind of, when I moved up here, I just made a commitment to give back to the community somehow. And I thought, what's a good way to give back, and what type of founders and startups do I want to give back to? And I think I just kind of quickly made a decision to kind of double down on bootstrapping. I thought, Portland is still like a great town for bootstrapping. Is it a good town for VC? Unsure, right? I'm not sure if the ecosystem's here, but the position I'm in right now, we're trying to build that type of ecosystem. But, what it is right now good for, it's good for bootstrapping. So, I mean, I applaud. I think probably everyone here are bootstrappers. So huge props to that. It's a tough journey. But like I've always wanted to just kind of create a community around that, just so if anyone's bootstrapping, they know, they're not alone. Like there's resources, there's people, there's a lot of other people going through the same journey. And even right now, like even though I'm, I could talk about my job right now at the Portland Metro Hub, which is a state-funded organization, I still play founder mode. Like I just can't get enough of startup life. I'm working on things that even don't show up on my LinkedIn.
I've actually never heard the term bootstrapper. I don't know how I missed that one, but that's awesome. All these shirts.
It just means self-funded.
Well, no, I know what bootstrapping means. I mean, more specifically, I was also a bootstrap founder, but to be called a bootstrapper, I just like how you've coined that term. I might be late to that party. I don't know, but I certainly understand. Anyway, I'm lost now back in those days. So what's next for you, I guess, and I also will blend that a little bit, take it either direction, but from you're the person to ask, I believe, for this. What does Portland need to provide, or kind of where's the opportunity to help support the entrepreneurs and bootstrappers in this community a little bit more?
Wow, good question. Wow, what does Portland need? I mean, at the role I'm at, I'm starting to see this thing that I've never seen being in here. There's a lot of entrepreneurial support organizations, a lot more than I thought coming into this new job that I'm at, but a lot of support for entrepreneurs. So if you ever feel that you're alone, just kind of reach out. Like I work at an organization called the Portland Metro Region Hub. Rick, runs a great podcast and a great Slack community. Just a lot of support. I would say it's there. Let's see what's needed. Wow, there's a lot of things.
This will be part two.
I think
What's the first word that comes to mind? Rapid fire.
First word, I think humility. Like whenever I talk to founders, maybe that's comes from my background. Being the guy who always thought, they didn't belong in the room. With humility, I think my dad drilled me into this. Like, if you don't know anything, just ask. Just always ask questions. And that's just always stuck with me because I always thought I didn't know. So asking has been sort of a life hack. And once you have that humility, early on in my startup career, I just read voraciously, probably 4 books a month. Just because I thought I didn't know, right? And I think that kind of maybe came from my upbringing and all that. So when I talk to founders now, I kind of sometimes throw in like a little test, like, have you read like a book or whatever?
Like, what's your top read? We got to know.
And when they say no too many times, I'm like, I got to start reading or whatever. But yeah, so read. I don't know.
Well, but legitimately, what's your top read?
Top read.
Or what's the one you want to make sure they read?
That's too hard. Yeah, that's like asking for the favorite movie.
Nice try.
Yeah.
Well, it's the first one that comes to mind, Darcy. Okay, well, I guess we are out of time, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
And finally, please welcome Kealoha Cooper from Utopia.
Is your grand entrance?
They didn't follow directionally.
Yeah.
They said everybody sit up there.
Oh, no, you can sit up there after if you'd like to, but you can't stand now.
You just like to be different. Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Great. Your last and final story of the evening.
I know.
Well, before we get into lost in conversation, I know you're here with Utopia, you're here also to talk also about Utopia and some events that are coming up or some announcements. We want to make sure.
Before I get started, culturally, I'm from Molokai. Anybody know where Molokai is? Good, 1 person. 2, 3, lucky people. You guys are lucky people. Oh, yes, right. Yeah, Molokai is a small island in Hawaii that people swear they go to all the time, but I swear if you think you went there, you did not go there. So in our culture, we start with a group. If I say aloha mai kako, you guys say aloha back. So aloha mai kako.
Aloha.
So it's basically just a greeting just to kind of get people to set in on the speakers, and then it's coming with love and good intentions. So thank you guys for having me.
And I hope you get rich, right? You'd also.
Oh, yes. And, yeah. I'm a senior director for a nonprofit here in Portland called Utopia PDX. And so what we do is do cultural sustainability around the queer community. So all of our staff members are either queer or PI. So that is it. And the reason why some people might say, oh, it's racist. Really? No. How are you supposed to teach our people that know nothing about it? So it's one of those concepts, and I was telling my new friend,
Kimiko.
Hey boo. I was telling my new friend that it's one of those things that's so profound when I was in the room and it was just PI people, Pacific Islander people, Asian people. I just cried. And I know that is a mean one, believe it or not. And I just cried because it's so profound to kind of see that notion. So I love working for Utopia. We have our gala coming up, which is our fundraiser. So we love receiving money, and we also love receiving time. So if you can donate your money and time, that would be awesome. So we have a fundraiser coming up on August 9th, and because we're queer, the theme is resistant flame. Everybody go, ooh.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, so the theme of it is like we have no restrictions. So, so last year we had actually Sasha Kobe. I don't really know Sasha Kobe. Nigga know Sasha Kobe. Okay. So yeah, she came in and hosted our event. I didn't know who she was really, but she won RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah.
Oh, you know her?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, right on. Yeah.
Too sweet. Took me to drag brunch for my birthday anyway.
I did. We went far, but it was really far.
Okay, wait. Back on track. So you describe yourself as a true product of Molokai, shaped by your ohana and your hoa, right?
Oh, hoas.
Hoa.
It's not like whores. Hoa.
No, what?
Hoa. In our culture, HOA means friends, like your hoa. So now you can actually call your friends, hey, what's up, It's not like hoa. Yeah.
We'll practice. How do those roots continue to guide you? Obviously, some of that's obvious. Let's go one level deeper.
Yeah. I think every day I try to, like everybody else, I try to run away of that notion of my background. I think when people see me, they don't think I'm from a rural island, that I still go hunting, I still go fishing. When you go back home, you are still to the land. Like for us, there's no such thing as like moving up means like you're investing more in the land and the people. You're not like, it's not a capital, American capital thing. So that's one thing I love. Like all my life I wanted to go and get out of the island, but like I find myself being drawn back to just the basic fundamentals of like life and people and talking story and connecting. And I actually did run some businesses, and then I was so depressed after because I did everything that my family wanted to do and it wasn't me. My background is my dad is Black Puerto Rican and my mom is Hawaiian Chinese. So and I'm gay, so I'm struggle with so much like shit. Can I say shit? Okay. I struggle with so much things, and so when people talk about like compartmentalizing things, it was like, it's really that question that you asked about the tension. Like, what about the tension that makes things like, you know?
Yeah.
I just had to embrace that because I didn't know anything else, and so I walk into places. I love not seeing someone like me because then I can like really like push my peeps into spaces. So I'm like, ooh, I love it. Okay, here we go. And I think because being so many backgrounds, I learned to become what's those things that change color? Those chameleons. So I learned to like English is not my first language. So I learned to like be a chameleon in regards to things. So I think having multiple backgrounds and having like your parents, you have to celebrate Chinese New Year, you have to celebrate Girls' Day, Boys' Day, you have to say Grovemade Day. I mean, we're celebrating everything. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So this is why I don't celebrate holidays now. But it leads me to like the work that I do now. Like I stopped working for corporate and started working for grassroots. And I think I feel, and one of the guys said it like fulfilled. John, I think John said it like, you feel more fulfilled with your work now. It's not something that you're just making money off of because I mean, I had money, I had an ex-husband, and it was done. I was like, I'm not happy. It wasn't him, majority, but I had to reset myself, and I decided like I want something more purposeful for me. At the end of the day, I feel good about it. Although I might complain to you, but I feel good about it.
In one of our personal conversations when we first met, we became instant best friends. And whether you liked it or not, I was just gonna follow you around forever. But then you introduced me to a we were having a conversation one night, and I think it's an amazing concept to bring up. Are you remembering what I was talking about when we talked about the closeness we felt when we first met? And there was just there was a language we both spoke, and you put words to it, obviously, because the work that you do, there's actually terms for them.
I mean, there's so much acronyms I think we all deal with every day. Yeah. Like, even when the AAPIH, I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, what is that? And then I thought, wait a second. Did we make that up, or did Americans make that up? Like, I wasn't too sure. So I'm like, what is that? But, like, everything else is like, I have to find purpose of things because it's meaningful. So that came from a disability term, access intimacy. So what Julie's talking about is access intimacy. So the idea is like we don't coin ourselves or pin ourselves to people where we have more intimate access to. So for instance, like we both grew up in like as diverse families where our parents were like just not like the normal parents of things. Our siblings, there's like, so we connected on that level, and it wasn't like a trauma notion, but it was like us like really talking big talk and not small talk. Because I told Julie last night, I think I was like, I have more years behind me. I'm more years behind me than I do ahead. So I don't really have that notion to like be like, what's the weather like? Girl, I can see outside. Like, I want to talk about, let's talk about other stuff. Let's talk about life. Let's talk about boys. Let's talk about like a lot of other things like business and things that excites us. So access intimacy is like finding people that you had those relationships with that really like alters your whole notion of connecting. And I think that's important. And I think we're sometimes afraid we see people like us in spaces and we don't walk up to them. Sometimes we expect them to walk up to us. They're like, oh, they're Asian. They're supposed to be walking up to me. Oh, yeah, white people over here. It's like, what? I think that I've had any half black people, I'm just in my head, you didn't tell me hi today. They're like, excuse me? I don't know you. But it's really that notion, like, just saying a hi, I think, knowing that, okay, there's something about us that is obviously similar. So just say hello. And you'd be surprised on how that really went. Because I met Julie, I was unpacking my car, and then she just came out here. She was like, hi. I was like, oh. And I was like, hey girl, what's up? Then we just started talking. Then we went out that day, and we never stopped hanging out.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing to find people with similar stories, and you're funny, so yeah, that was helpful. As someone who's dedicated to community building, last question. Again, it's a word we say it a lot, but in your poetic way. But what is something I think that's key to actual community building? In your mind. What makes it real? Like we keep talking about community and this word, and it's diluted. It's being diluted these days, and we have these fascinating conversations, and you go off on wonderful tangents about what that word actually means and what it takes to actually build it.
Oh, that's a heavy question. I feel like intentions is like makes things different. Like I think, like I always tell my staff, like, because we talk too much at work. So I always say, hey, before we start this meeting, what is the intentions that we want to get out of it? Because we couldn't talk forever here, and I gotta go. But I'm the one that'd be like, wait, blah, 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 blah. So I always say, like, what is our intentions? What do we want to get out of this? Like, and expressing that. I think when we express the intent of what we want to do and be fully honest about it, I think people can respect that from any walk of life, whether they want to support you or not support you. So I think having good intentions is important, and not like shooting a shit because people can tell.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all of our founders. Well, and thank you. Wow. What do I say? I think Zhao.
You can still talk. You look. No, you don't have to talk. Can everyone please thank Julia, our amazing host for the evening?